Mike Adams will be with us until we go to break in the next segment, next hour. Then we're going to get the proprietor of the former Austin Gun Show on briefly to talk about the protests coming up tonight that I'm news blitzing for the rest of the show. NaturalNews.com is the powerful website of our guest, the health ranger, Mike Adams. Mike, let's go to phone calls. Let's go ahead. And by the way, I have a Wall Street Journal article here about poison and progress, about secret poisoning of the food supply, but they say Al-Qaeda will do it, and that they'll do it with slow-kill weapons. Jaron just printed this off for me. The government are the terrorists, folks. They're the ones poisoning you. Okay, let's go ahead and talk to Daryl in Texas. Daryl, you're on the air.
Hello, appreciate y'all. I have a question about nutrition. I have so many questions to ask, but I think the one that I want to ask most is about nutrition, and that is there are many superfoods, multivitamins, smoothies, and that sort of thing that are on the market. What is your advice for someone who is, as a pharmacist, I'm semi-educated about the body and that sort of thing, but if I'm going to set out to find the best way to, like a reference or something that I can go to, should someone be doing more, like if you're taking a multivitamin and you're incorporating vegetables in every meal, how much more do you need? Do you need the superfoods? What is reference?
Mike's going to tell you eat raw foods, but Mike, tell him.
Well, no, I'm not a total raw foodist myself, but I do eat some portion raw at every meal for a number of reasons. But, you got to realize that, number one, our food supply is depleted of nutrients. Even if it's fresh produce right out of the garden, most of the soils are depleted, so we're not getting the minerals that we get. And the processed food, of course, is complete garbage.
Minerals are key, aren't they?
Well, absolutely, and trace minerals like selenium are very important for things like cancer prevention. But in terms of going, how do you decide that you have a quality source? Well, you got to do your research, because even though I'm as much an advocate of vitamins and nutritional supplements, there are bad vitamins and there are good vitamins, because some of the vitamins are made by the drug companies and they're just full of chemicals. And you got to know the difference.
Yeah, they make synthetic chemical copies from the extra petrochemical effluvium they have, and it's incredibly toxic.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe where some of this stuff comes from, like petrochemical byproducts.
Well, here's a quick example. Here's a quick example for people that don't believe me. Every time I see somebody drinking a Diet Coke, I say, that's genetically engineered E. coli feces. I mean, that's what aspartame is bacteria feces, and people just can't believe that. Go ahead, Mike.
No, well, you're right. It's a good, different point of view on where that stuff really comes from. But yeah, there are good quality supplements out there, bad quality. For example, if you're trying to look at a vitamin and you want to know if it's good quality, if it's a multi, look at the form of the vitamin B12 that's in the bottle. If it's cyanocobalamin, that's like a cyanide molecule, a cyano is the prefix, then it's the cheap and, in my opinion, the unhealthy version of vitamin B12, and that's what you find in most supplements. The healthy version is typically called methylcobalamin, methyl, and that is a methylated version of that molecule that's more absorbable by your body. That's just one small example, but there are many others that you can learn.
All right, Daryl,
just by doing some research.
Hope that answers your question. Andrew in Maine, you're on the air with Mike Adams.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello.
It's a great show, Alex.
Thank you.
And Mike's articles are really great. I really feel vindicated hearing how he has exposed the flu scam. It's very surprising how it fell apart. The people here lined up from the propaganda, and the children didn't want it, but the parents knew in their heart they didn't want it, but they did it anyway. But my question is whether or not they will still try to have a engineered flu, and that was one of the concerns that we had along the way. It was really surprising the way it fell apart.
Andrew in Maine, any other questions? We'll answer your question. We'll answer your question when we come back. We are now into hour number 4. Mike Adams is our guest. NaturalNews.com. I'm Alex Jones of Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. I meant to get to that question earlier. Obama last year signed an executive order preparing for basically martial law under biological attack. ties into the John Warner Defense Authorization Act, PDD 51, and others. Clearly, they're eyeing that as a possible next false flag, and the bigger flu scare was just a drill. Mike Adams, they clearly are trying to set the precedent to forcibly inoculate us. Your comments on a stage-release flu. This one, we have government documents where they admitted they were going to release a flu simulant of H1N1 a year before they did it. So it looks like this was all a test. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the theories is that this actually was the attempt to distribute a real killer pandemic, and it failed on them. The scientists who were engineering this virus weren't able to get it to mutate in the wild the way they wanted it to. That's just one theory. I don't know for sure if that's true or not. Another theory is that it was just kind of a dry run for the big one that's coming, because we know that there are, for example, military labs and U.S. government labs where they work on these as weapons of war. I mean, that's not
BioShield,
right?
but BioShield, but I mean, it came out that they were developing an H1N1 quote flu virus simulant to test spread, and there've been a bunch of top scientists say this was clearly made in a lab. I mean, that's mainstream news.
Well, yeah, very clearly that simulant that you talked about was put out there to try to test the effectiveness of the vaccines against it, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
they had structured that, and
but the simulant was a weakened H1N1.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at the history, and I know you know this very well, but your listeners, this may be new information to them, but the history of the U.S. military testing bioweapons on civilians in the United States is a very long and detailed history. I mean, it goes way back, and they would gas, or they would release biological agents on entire cities. They would inject people with agents without their knowledge. And
New York subway, nerve gassing our own troops, radiating foster children.
Right. So they're capable of this, Alex. They're capable of releasing a very dangerous, very deadly virus. But people should understand this. The most dangerous virus in terms of a pandemic is not the one that kills you right away. It's the virus that you can carry without symptoms and pass on to other people for 7 to 14 days without anybody knowing that it's being spread. And that's usually a low mortality virus, which is exactly what H1N1 was, a low mortality virus. So
and they've also engineered super viruses that trigger, once your hormone levels go down, that are literally a Logan's Run carousel soft kill weapon.
I call those binary vaccines. It's kind of like binary explosive. You have to have both elements in place, and then the trigger is set off, and really bad things can happen to your body in those cases. But yeah, you and I both know, Alex, we see this behind the scenes even too, things that perhaps we won't even talk about publicly, but we see what they're capable of doing, and they are setting the stage, in my opinion, for something big to strike the U.S., most likely a false flag attack involving biologicals.
I agree with you. I think that's one of the main enemy operations we're focused on. Our eyes are peeled as sentinels, and the public's starting to wake up to just how wicked this government is, but I don't know if it's fast enough, Mike. I mean, people are really in for all these reporters that think it's funny and think it's cute and that make fun of us. If they kill your kids, it's not our fault. We tried to warn you, jackasses. And, I mean, this is not a game. This is not a joke. This is not a drill. We know who these people are. We know what they've done over and over again, and now they're gearing up to do it on a bigger scale, and people just can't believe it. Mike Adams, great job. Again, naturalnews.com. Thank you for the incredible work you do.
Thank you, Alex. It's always a pleasure to join you, and I hope to do it again sometime. Take care.
Take care. Take care. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there he goes from Ecuador. He's escaped the main command base of the New World Order, but he's fighting back from a distance. More of your calls straight ahead and the latest on the gun grab in Austin, Texas. We'll be right back.